Hollywood change at that point. And so, you know what? Just check it out. Definitely, like you said, and like I've heard it from so many people. It's like a love story to the old Hollywood, you know. And definitely, I would recommend anybody to go check it out. I think Tarantino outdid himself in this one. Definitely a really good change of pace from Hateful Eight, man. It wasn't my cup of tea, Hateful Eight, but this I always love when Tarantino goes to Hollywood. You know, like one of my favorite Tarantino movies is Pulp Fiction. So you know it's LA and stuff like that. So definitely love it.
Yeah. For quite a while, he's been stuck in the spaghetti western stuff, and it was this is his first film, maybe his last film back, where he goes, and it's still a period piece, but it's not a western, you know. Yeah. So it was a kind of a breath
of fresh air,
to get something a little different from the man, the myth, and the legend.
But that's it, man.
Cool. My one and only rec this week is I Love You, Now Die, The Commonwealth versus Michelle Carter. It's an HBO original documentary, and it's about it's a revealing look into the life and case of Conrad Roy, who killed himself after his girlfriend Michelle Carter encouraged him via text message to do so.
I was watching the trailer of it. Looks like a really good documentary. Actually, they have like 4 different ones, right, coming out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of them. But definitely this one is an interesting one, man.
It's sad and probably not for the faint of heart, because it goes deep into their conversations and both of them as individuals and where they come from, and kind of so you can get in, kind of feel around into the psyche of both of them and see why this ended up happening. You know, in the end, it's very sad, but also very informative and probably a necessary watch, but at the right time. It's a 2-part documentary. They're a couple hours, I think like an hour and a half each. So yeah, check that out when you have a chance. If you have HBO or HBO Go or HBO Now, it should be on there. Very interesting.
Did James send us some recs?
He did not. So it's just that one.
Nice.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, of course. So we will jump into our movie focus of the week.
Let's do this.
Which is brought to you by me this time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now for the movie focus of the week.
Alright, so this week we're talking about The Girl Next Door. It's from 2004. It's a drama/comedy. It runs at 1 hour and 50 minutes, and it's got a 56 on Rotten. I wrote for the synopsis. In the film, Matthew Kidman is a sheltered honor student about to graduate high school, and suddenly his life is changed when he falls for his neighbor's niece, Danielle, who is house-sitting temporarily. While in the midst of romance, Matthew's friend discovers that Danielle is in fact a former porn star. The film was directed by Luke Greenfield and written by Stephen Blumberg. It stars Alicia Cuthbert, Emile Hirsch, Timothy Oliphant, James Remar, Chris Marquette, and Paul Dano. So, before I get into why I chose the film, what did you think of this movie?
It was definitely a change of pace. It was a comedy. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we don't do that many comedies here. But it definitely a change of pace. It holds a sentimental value to me because I went to go see it in the movie theater with my brother, my little cousin, and my uncle, and I think it was like it was like 14, 15 at the time, and it was the last movie I went to go see in the theaters with my cousin. Then after that, he got diagnosed with cancer. so it holds a sentimental value, which is cool because like a week ago was his birthday.
Oh, okay.
But what I really think about it, it is an early 2000 film, so we got a lot of these. I feel the soundtrack was like a big plus to me in this movie. Definitely the cinematography, the pace of this. It wasn't really boring or anything. I wish it would get a little bit more praise. That's how I feel. But being honest with myself and being honest with everything, this movie lacks a little bit more of the story of like we never get to see the end. We never get to hear why she got into the porn industry, what drove her to the porn industry. We definitely don't get more of the relationship of why these two characters are fighting over this chick for in their respective industry. So, I mean, at this point, I'm nitpicking, but overall, I thought it was really well paced, really well edited. Definitely, the story wasn't bad, but I'd give it a 7 out of 10. And that's being really, I mean, at the end of the day, it was a good. It's a 2000 film. That's what I said, an early 2000s film. So we had a lot of these, but this one was a little bit unique because in those days we had so much sex in the movie. I think we had maybe 2 or 3 scenes that we actually heard or saw sex, and that was through porn. But that's what this movie is about. It's about porn. So yeah, man. That hopefully I gave a good description.
So from my perspective, so this film, I didn't get to see it in the theater. I didn't see it till a couple years after its release.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't allowed to watch it. So my first kind of experience with it was I bought the film based on a recommendation from one of my best friends who was actually a female. So shout out to Anna. She might be listening right now. What's up? Yeah, she told me to buy it, that it was hilarious, and we needed to watch it together. So we did that, and every time I watch this film, I always think about that first time. And there's so many good things to talk about in this film. Whether it be the amazing soundtrack that hits so hard with each scene, and the music blends so incredibly seamlessly.
Whoever was the music director really made a really good choice in music.
For sure. And then our two main stars, Alicia Cuthbert and Emile Hirsch. You can, at least from my point of view, I feel like you really feel the sparks.
Yeah.
And you're able to buy it. And, especially because at the time this came out, you and me were still in high school. It kind of plays to our generation a lot, with the VHS being, one of the main forms of video formats, and there's so many calls to our generation, and how, in the same sense like how Euphoria is speaking to the high schoolers of now.
Yeah.
Girl Next Door in a lot of ways was what we went through.
Yeah.
With the jocks and the different factions inside school, and it's just very believable and relatable on a lot of different levels. I feel like this film doesn't get enough praise because there's equal amount of drama with the comedy. I feel like it was slapped with, this is just another raunchy comedy in the vein of American Pie or something like that. But there's so many layers going on here, and the supporting actors, all the actors in this are so good. and it's a shame that this film, it didn't really find success till later on in its life on video, and now it's kind of widely renowned as this cult classic. But when it came out, it didn't do big numbers, and I'm wondering if that's because it was rated R, and because our generation at the time, maybe they weren't able to go see it, or not allowed, in case, because you have to be with an adult. So I'm not sure if that maybe comes into play. But yeah, I thought everything in this film really works, and I just love it. I think it's very underrated, still underrated now. It's not talked about enough with how good it is and how well it's aged. Because I know the last comedy I picked, I think, was Don John, which ironically is kind of similar to this in a lot of ways. And I think that this has, in my opinion, aged well. You're able to watch it and still have fun. It does have a few disadvantages, like there's a lot of homophobia stuff going through this, but that's not something that's something that was a kind of a pattern within the early 2000s.
Yeah, it wasn't out of the norm.
Yeah,
I think for a teenager or young adult today, it would be kind of offensive, but for us that grew, it's like the word. I don't, forgive me for saying this, but like the word fag in the 80s, it was common, for people to say that.
Yeah.
And
that's why this reminds me of kind of like John Hughes or like Weird Science or 16 Candles. It's in the vein of that, because it's like, what if John Hughes did a more modern kind of coming of age film, and that's exactly what this is, and I think that it really accomplishes what it tries to get across. It's kind of like a modern retelling of Risky Business in a lot of ways.
It's crazy because I feel like this gets the Harold and Kumar treatment. Mm-hmm. So I called it that's what I call the treatment when they didn't really make that much money in the movie theaters, but in home video sales, it definitely pulled a lot of numbers, a lot of really good numbers, and definitely, like you said, it was an underrated movie, man. It really is. I'm just nitpicking some of the shit that was there. But it's definitely a really good movie, really good pace. It doesn't bore you like other films from this era did. But,
Yeah, because it's almost a 2-hour film, and it feels like it's an hour and 20 something. It flies by because it's very entertaining. I think a lot of it has to do with the chemistry of our two main stars, Everything kind of pushes it along. It was like the stars aligned for this film in a lot of ways. Another thing I wanted to talk about was there's a lot of themes that come into play and insecurities, which was another thing that I could hugely relate to, because within the first half an hour of the film, it's this kind of really cruel, romantic love story, right? Where this kid, he's very sheltered, he hasn't really experienced life, and he's like, all these other people have all these stories of high school, but I have nothing that I'm gonna remember because I've had this boring life up till now. And then the neighbor's niece moves in to house sit while they're away in Africa or whatever for a while, and he kind of falls in love with her, and it's very romantic, and they share a lot of crazy on-screen time that's very relatable, and what would be something that when we're in high school we would dream about. You know what I mean, in a lot of ways. And even from the and then after the half an hour mark, we find out that she's basically trying to escape this facade of the porn industry, and how, of course, that causes people to treat you a different way, and she's obviously trying to escape that life. And so from the female's perspective of this story, it really hits home, because then you're thinking, wow, this is amazing, because she